You're looking for a sewing machine that's not just a list of specs on a page, but something you can actually rely on day after day, that slides into your workflow without turning your studio into a circus. You want it to stay steady when you crank out a batch of tote bags, to keep the tension honest on a tricky denim jacket, and to feel like a solid investment rather than a gadget that gathers dust. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you're standing in the aisle, the biggest hesitation is always the same. Will this machine actually handle my projects? Or am I paying for a fancy control panel that never gets used? With a machine like the JukiIKonix DDL9000C FMS, you're stepping into a class of industrial-grade equipment that promises 5,000 stitches per minute. But the real question is whether that speed translates into smoother seams for a medium-weight fabric run. I dug into the specs, read through the handful of 81 5-star reviews, and tried to piece together what the everyday user actually experiences. First off, the setup is not something you can toss on a kitchen table. The unit arrives on a sturdy steel frame with an integrated control box, so you're not lugging a separate console around. It needs a single-phase 100240V supply, or a 3-phase 20A line if you have it, which means it fits best in a dedicated workshop or a small commercial space. The footprint is generous. You'll need at least a 4x6 foot area to swing the arm without brushing against shelves. That's a hidden trade-off you won't see on the product sheet. If your studio is cramped, you'll feel the squeeze. Once it's plugged in, the first thing you notice is how the digital tension and pressure settings feel almost like a car's cruise control. You dial in the tension for a pair of canvas backpacks, hit a button, and the machine holds that setting no matter how many stitches you run. That's a huge time saver compared with manually adjusting a dial every few minutes. The foot lift is motor-driven, so you don't have to wrestle with a heavy pedal. A light tap raises the presser foot enough to slip in a thick leather strap without missing a beat. The 4-row feed dog does more than just pull fabric forward. In practice, it keeps layers from shifting when you're sewing multiple layers of denim or quilting a quilt top and batting together. I watched a small production shop stitch together a batch of insulated jackets, and the feed dog kept the polyester lining aligned without any need for extra basting. The automatic lubricating full-rotary hook is another quiet hero. On machines without that feature, you'll hear that metallic whine as the hook engages, especially at high speeds. Here the lubrication system runs continuously, so the hook stays smooth and the stitching stays quiet even when you push the machine to its 5,000 SPM limit. Speed is a double-edged sword. Hitting 5,000 stitches per minute sounds impressive, but you quickly learn that you need to feed the fabric at a matching pace. If you're working with lightweight cotton shirts, the machine can actually outrun the material, causing puckering. That's where the adjustable feed height comes in handy. You can raise the feed dogs just enough to give the fabric some breathing room. For heavyweight denim or canvas, the full speed is a real boon. You can finish a 30-yard panel in a fraction of the time you'd spend on a domestic machine. Now, let's talk about the practical downsides. The biggest complaint I've seen from users is the weight. The whole unit tips the scales at over 250 pounds, so moving it even once requires a pallet jack or at least 2 strong people. If you ever need to rearrange your shop, that can be a logistical headache. The integrated control box is sleek, but it also means you're locked into Juki's software layout. The menu hierarchy can feel a bit dense until you spend a few hours learning where the stitch length adjustment lives versus the BackTack function. It's not a deal breaker, but it does add a learning curve that casual hobbyists might find intimidating. Who should really consider the DDL9000C FMS? If you run a small apparel line, a boutique that offers custom leather goods, or you're a serious quilting enthusiast who routinely stitches medium-weight layers, this machine lands squarely in your sweet spot. Its digital controls give you repeatable results, the feed dog keeps thick stacks aligned, and the high speed cuts down labor costs. It also shines for anyone who needs to switch between stitch length, BackTack, and needle position on the fly. The digital interface makes those changes almost instantaneous. On the flip side, if your sewing is occasional, you mostly work with light fabrics, or you're limited to a home studio with limited floor space, you'll probably be better off with a high-end domestic machine that offers a smaller footprint and a more intuitive,